In the previous video, I talked about a basic overview on how I would recreate Sonic Forces from the ground up. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, you can go ahead and click on the first episode to get you all caught up. Hello everyone, I'm OCDsaster, and this is OCDsaster Blue, my Sonic exclusive channel. In this video, we're going to go ahead and break down how I would have done the Sonic Forces story. Now, I want to start off with, I think the Sonic Forces bones of the story are good. I think the premise and the setup are not bad. I think it's just the little details in between and some of the writing and the dialogue that just needs some work. Like I said in the first video, I would completely scrap out Classic Sonic. He absolutely has zero addition to the plot, and I think it was stupid to have him in the game to begin with. So the first big change is we're writing out Classic Sonic. The next thing is the theming of Sonic Forces. The big theme for Sonic Forces is fear. Fear is what motivates the Avatar character to join the Resistance, even though it's not very well clarified. And fear is actually the reason that Infinite becomes as evil as he is. So I really like that concept and that theme staying within the game. And of course, the basic concept of Eggman defeating Sonic using the Phantom Ruby and using copies of Sonic's nemesis from the past, Sonic being presumed dead and being missing for a big chunk of the game and the story. That's a big change that I'm going to do. But the same concept of Eggman's forces taking over the world, and you have the globe still, and you see the percentage of the Resistance versus the Eggman Empire. I like all that, and I think that can all stay. A big thing is that dialogue, so that's what I want to talk about next, is the dialogue in Sonic Forces is so hit or miss. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's cheesy, and sometimes it's over serious, and you just need to find that right tone and that right balance. Like Knuckles saying that's why they call this war, like it's such a funny meme line because it's in a Sonic game and they always pull back. One of the big criticisms that I mentioned in the first episode of this series is that I think that the seriousness in the Sonic Forces original game is good, but then they immediately cut it by removing the tension because the game is for children and they don't want them to worry about dark elements and stuff like that. But they flip it so quickly and they pull back and either do a goofy line or a cheesy line, and it tonally does not match up. So in my version, it would definitely be edgier, it would be darker, there would still be moments of humor, but I wouldn't cut the tension so quickly. I would let it sit for a while. Heck, the biggest premise that I'm changing for my reimagined Sonic Forces game is that for the first half of the game, Sonic is MIA, and you actually think he's gone and he got like downright defeated by Eggman. Alright, so let's get into my version of Sonic Forces and what that story looks like. We start off with a prologue featuring Shadow the Hedgehog. This takes place roughly a year before the events of Sonic Forces. Gunn has hired Rouge, Shadow, and Omega to infiltrate Eggman's bases across the world because they got intel that Eggman was starting to build something, and there were power sources coming from multiple areas. This would inevitably be the Phantom Ruby, but we don't know that information yet. So you play a few missions as Shadow, as Rouge, and as Omega to let the player know that you won't just be playing as a boost formula Sonic character. And we'll get into the gameplay and stuff that I envision for this in the next episode. However, they take down a few bases, you're getting the hang of how the globe system works and how you're taking over territories and stuff. It's a really good introduction to how the game would work. Then, the final mission they get from Gunn is that they notice that there is a squad that is being run by a jackal, and they need to figure out what's going on. So, Shadow has to chase down this jackal and figure out what he's doing with Eggman. So the last mission is essentially, first part is a level, and then you go into a chase thing with this jackal, and then you get to the cutscene where Shadow is beating the absolute crap out of the jackal. The jackal is absolutely terrified. Shadow knocks him out and then blows up Eggman's base, which disfigures the Jackal, but we don't see it because we're going to try to keep it still within that Sonic audience. And then the Jackal's just laying there thinking about being in fear and just how he's weak, and Eggman comes along and saves him. A year has passed now, and we have the Phantom Ruby fully complete and functional, and the Jackal has put on the persona as Infinite and is working with Eggman. Gun gets the alert that there's a big power surge in this one area, so Shadow, Rouge, and Omega go to check it out. It'll be a big level where you play as each of them to get into the base, and then there is a showdown between Shadow and Infinite, now using the powers of the Phantom Ruby, and the boss fight is intense, it's visceral. Infinite is way stronger than he was when he was just a Jackal. To prove that he's a threat, you beat him as Shadow in the game, but then the cutscene is Infinite actually defeats Shadow and copies him, essentially. Shadow, Rouge, and Omega are actually captured by Dr. Eggman and Infinite, and we fast forward to a few days later where we are playing as Sonic, and it's not a Green Hill level, it's anything but that. Just Sonic running through, and then he gets a call from Tails about Dr. Eggman doing something in a town and threatening people, and so Sonic races his way over there. As Sonic and Tails are on their way over to figure out what's going on, we are in the city where Infinite is tearing the place apart. You have citizens running everywhere, and we are introduced to the Avatar character that we will soon be playing as. And they are hiding and cowering in fear. Infinite's doing his whole monologue, but in a better way than the original game, about how he senses the fear and how he used to be weak and now he's strong. And then Sonic jumps in to stop Infinite from attacking the city and to defend the Avatar character that we'll be playing as very shortly. And there's even a moment in the cutscene that I'm envisioning where the Avatar will have like this look, this gleam in his eye of inspiration, looking up as Sonic, being fearless, being a hero, standing up to Infinite. Tails shows up and does whatever Tails does, scans the Infinite guy and just starts babbling techno jargon. I gotta figure out what to do with Tails because he was really obnoxious and useless in the original Sonic Forces, but it'll be something in that lines where he's there as like a support character. Then all the villains, rogues appear. You got Shadow, Zavok, Chaos, Metal Sonic, Dr. Eggman rolls in, and they're all there, and they beat the absolute crap out of Sonic. The Avatar that we play as later is looking in horror, and Tails actually tries to fight in my version and gets knocked out along with Sonic. It fades to black, and then instead of having a text on screen just telling us what happened in a 6-month period, we go to like 3 weeks later. This is not a month's time skip. This is just a few weeks time skip. And we're going to show, we're not going to tell. Tails is MIA. Everyone doesn't know what happened to Sonic, but they're just assuming the worst. They're not saying he's dead, but they're also not sure if he's still out there. There's this talk about hope and realism and optimism. I know Silver has that really cringe line where he's a optimist, but he's also a realist. We can work that a little bit better to make it sound serious, but not like ridiculous. Eggman's forces are mobilizing, and the Phantom Ruby copies of Sonic's villains are each taking up a different portion of the globe. And so essentially this portion of the game that I'm reimagining for Sonic Forces is Sonic is not there. You're not playing as Sonic at all. You're playing as all these different side characters, and they have their own types of missions, and you're essentially trying to prevent Eggman's empire from expanding, and each of these side characters will have a chance to fight a villain. Now, they're all not going to fight each villain, but I have in my head which, and I'll explain once again further on when I talk about like the gameplay for this potential version that I'm creating, this made-up Sonic Forces game of mine. It would be the first portion of this game is these side characters doing these missions and fighting the bosses, not Sonic. Knuckles is still the leader of this group. I think that's absolutely fine. We are introduced to the recruit or the rookie, which is the avatar character we're playing as, and we'll get a tutorial with them and just get a feel for what their gameplay is going to be like, which is going to be different from all the other characters, which will be fun and cool. And it'll be obviously a quiet protagonist. I'm not going to give the avatar a voice because they didn't in the original Sonic Forces, but they're going to have that arc still of overcoming their fear, and this just gives them a reason to join, was Sonic standing up and helping them live, essentially saving them, sacrificing himself for them. So that's the initial start for their journey and their arc, but there's still much more that needs to happen. And so for this first 1/3 of this game that I have in my head, you are playing as all these different characters. You are slowly defending these different portions of the planet, but Eggman's forces seem to just be overpowering. The bosses are actually defeating everybody. Like, you're beating them in the boss fight, but then the cutscene is them actually defeating you. So it seems helpless, but one base that you're able to take over happens to be the one where Omega is decommissioned, Shadow and Rouge are kidnapped, and then you realize that Shadow is been a copy the whole time. Shadow explains what happened. He might even do a little funny, like, passive-aggressive joke, I'm tired of having copies. And so they fill you in. So then Rouge is now able to go and scout out and spy on Eggman, because that's what she does. Shadow joins the fray and starts really tearing up some Eggman bases because he's angry. So then you finally start seeing it sway a little bit in a different direction. Things look a lot better. Then, when you're about halfway through the game, Rouge lets everyone know Sonic's still alive. We need to go rescue him. There's a whole rescue mission that's really fun. You play as everybody still. And then you save Sonic and he comes back. And it's pretty much the rest of the story is how it plays out in the base game. But now you're playing as Sonic for the rest. Everyone else can take a break. Sonic's just tearing it up. He's running through. Yeah, everyone can help him out here and there in different levels, but he's the main focus, the main character again. He's got a grudge, and he is ready to take down Eggman and Infinite. I'm going to mention here that you will be fighting Infinite in my version of the game as the other characters, but Infinite just wipes the floor with them to show how strong he is, and he's going to be tough again when Sonic comes back out. But Sonic, now that he has a grudge, now he's been paying attention, and then they eventually get Tails back, and Tails is able to analyze data and stuff like that. They're able to kind of even the playing field. What I think would be fun that they didn't do in the base Sonic Forces is implement more of the Chaos Emeralds, and somehow part of the missions is to collect the Chaos Emeralds. Sonic goes supersonic, and that's how he just tears through a lot of these bases and eventually does his final showdown with Infinite and then Eggman after that. So, like I said, the tail end of it should still kind of play out the way it does in the base Sonic Forces game with some dialogue changes and stuff like that, and then Super Sonic being a bigger focus because he's not even in the base game. And yeah, that's going to be my updated version of the game. I'm going to kind of break it up even more when I talk about mission structures and how I would like the gameplay to go, what characters will be used and played as in the story. You're going to have Silver, Knuckles, Amy, Charmy, SBO, Vector, all these people. They're going to be there. They're going to be playable. They're going to be part of the story. I just wanted to get this overlying change out to you guys. Let me know what you think. Do you think my story would work in a reimagined sense for Sonic Forces? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think I should have just done a completely different story, completely pivoted from what the original Sonic Forces had? Or does this work? What are your ideas? I would love to hear them down in the comments below. Thank you so much if you made it all the way to the end. Be sure to subscribe for all things Sonic related, and so you don't miss the next episode for this series, because I'm probably going to be taking a break for a while to release Sonic X Shadow Generations content for the remaining few weeks, because that game comes out in a few days. I'm very, very excited, and you should stay tuned for this channel for that if you're interested. I have a mega video out right now. It's over 2 hours long of just the build-up videos I've had up till Sonic X Shadow Generations comes out. So, with that being said, I'm OCDsaster, and I hope you have a super Sonic rest of your day. See ya!